Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Natch United, podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Mr. Fernandez, and
I'm Christian Iwarna. Hello.
we're about to review Friendly Persuasion, which is only the second weirdest episode of Laverne and Shirley in all of its existence. Just imagine what's ahead of us as I say this.
Oh God, yeah. No, you just told me that before we started recording, and now I'm just like, oh no.
Marinate in it. Marinate in it.
Okay, so
actually, this might actually be the fourth weirdest if you consider what really happens in season 8, but we'll get there soon. Anyway, this is directed once again by Tom Trowich, who continues his season 7 directing streak. Written by Wally Dalton. Chris probably has facts about Wally Dalton coming up.
yes, very interesting ones at that.
I wonder, and now I'm super intrigued because of this. The way this episode is very.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. This is what the episode's about. The show's only Christmas-related California episode, Laverne and Shirley meet actor Charles Grodin, who pops into Bardwells to have a present wrapped at the behest of his cousin, one of the girl's overbosses, Mr. Pennington. His kind, positive, and pleasant attitude charms the girls, to the point that Laverne thinks the actor is attracted to her and sets up a date for them at the girl's apartment. Unfortunately, Grodin is not attracted to her, and Shirley is paranoid that he wants to take their jobs. So, when Grodin shows up at the apartment, the gang is not at their best. Carmine and Shirley are fighting over Carmine's cheapness and his desire to take Shirley out to a Chinese restaurant that she hates, because he explains he has a 2-for-1 coupon. Meanwhile, the boys are peeved because they've lost hot water access in the middle of washing Squiggy's hair, and Rhonda enters in the geisha outfit to practice for an audition, earning Shirley's ire as she fears Rhonda is making a pass at Carmine. Into the middle of this group-wide argument, Grodin enters, and he tries to mediate using platitudes and self-help ideas. When he turns on the gang and they choose to defend each other, they come to realize he was right all along. What do you think of this one?
What the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
your girlfriend turned into a zombie.
So here's the thing about this episode. I think it sums it up really well. When we watched this episode about 1 to 2 weeks ago, and
yes.
I basically realized I disliked it so much because I found it so bizarre and so uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
I didn't want to show it to my mother. Who I try,
wow.
Who likes watching this show with me when I'm doing my notes and stuff like that, and so she'll often join me for that. I told her, it's very weird. It's like the characters act like idiots. Yeah. It's a waste of Charles Grodin. Grodin's giving a good performance in a bad episode. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And she finally was so curious about me talking it up while I was watching the other 3 episodes that we're going to be recording on this current session.
Yes.
That we actually ended up watching it anyway, and I did some extra notes, but yeah. She then tells me afterward, I had to see it for myself. You honestly could not. I don't know how to explain this episode. And it's like until you actually see it. Because basically, I think a good way of putting this is that, there are parodies of very special episode sitcoms, the way that like Mad TV and SNL and In Living Color do those.
Yeah.
This is like one of those done as a real sitcom episode.
Yeah.
And it's somehow it's sad. I mean, this is a talented crew. This is a very talented cast, and the parts that work really, really work.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most, aside from the offensive. Actually, what's my note here? Let me scroll down here. This is an offensively bad episode because it insults the audience intelligence and wastes the actor's time, the audience's time, and everyone involved. It's a nightmare. I don't have the bile for this the same way I do for the genuinely offensive and destructive episodes, such as Bully Show, Road to Burbank, etc.
Yeah.
But I do not like it.
I don't like this either. I would save exactly 2 parts of it. One part is the whole storyline with the boys. Everything with the boys is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everything with the boys is funny. And a lot of the stuff at the end where the gang comes together and everybody, even including Rhonda, gets to compliment people.
Mm-hmm.
Rhonda really comes off as sweet in this episode, which is a nice change of pace. You finally get to see some softness at her.
Although
that's really good.
The period accurate casual racism was a little much.
Yeah. Oh, God. Who thought this was a good idea even in the early 80s? Who thought this was a good idea? It's, oh, gee. Otherwise, I would gladly dunk this episode into the trash. To be real. Just to be real. Charles Grodin does do a really good job here, and he does a good job of playing against his apoplectic type, which had been famous for a while by then, because he had already done Heartbreak Kid.
Yep, exactly, because through the 70s, I mean, Catch-22, King Kong 76, Heaven Can Wait, and he was even, at the time of the filming of this, he was just hot off of Great Muppet Caper.
Wow, yeah.
Which is another...
One of my favorite Muppet movies.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and he's such an amazing heel in the movie. Yeah, so it's
so great, it's so great. And he gets to sing about Miss Piggy and romance her, and he puts genuine heat into that romance. You believe he wants to boff that pig. You really do.
Whoa, okay.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong. I completely agree with you. I mean, hey, listen, when we're talking about Miss Piggy here, Ray Liotta is the one who is so proud. He said, I never really got to, bang any of my co-stars, but Miss Piggy I did off camera. And he said that was the best one.
Yeah. I remember him saying that. I remember him saying that. He said, he was talking about how cool she was.
Exactly.
This reminds me of, gosh, I'll come back to that anecdote. Because it'll come back to me.
Okay.
Eventually with time. Hopefully when we get back into some kind of puppet discussion. This comes off like Charles Grodin fan fiction.
Yeah. Really weird. Really weird.
Yeah. Somebody decided to insert Charles Grodin into an episode of Laverne and Shirley, and this is what you got.
And
yeah, sorry.
It reminds me of how we've talked about this before. Gary wanted the move to California to get guest stars from the era, and it's like, this is why you don't do that.
Yep. He isn't even a star for this particular era. This episode is set in 1966.
Right.
In 1966, he would be realistically unknown, so Shirley's weird paranoia about him taking her job actually fits. By 1966, he had very few guest starring roles under his belt. The one thing he was known for, aside from an appearance in a really sleazy B-movie, which isn't as cool as Fred Willard appearing in Teenage Mother.
Yes.
He was in a daytime soap opera called The Young Marrieds.
Yep. Yeah, I have that in
which
my...
ran from 1964 to 1966. Yeah. That's all he would be known for. So, Shirley's paranoia here makes sense with that in mind. But everybody else falling all over him like he's a big star makes no sense.
At the very least, Laverne getting the hots for him. Because it's... I don't know if that was especially with, Mr. Dick Swamp, Willie Marsh, if this was like the idea, like a running gag they were trying to build where Laverne falls for the loser, or they haven't made it. They're just a wannabe, they're the struggling artists.
Yeah.
And that as a gimmick would have been cute, but it doesn't come off that way in this episode because by this time, Charles Grodin playing himself feels like a movie star to the audience that it's trying to be market itself to. I mean, my actor note is Charles Grodin as Charles Grodin in Charles Grodin's Day Off.
Charles Grodin is Charles Grodin in the Charles Grodin Story. Co-starring Penny Marshall. And it's like, you have to be a Charles Grodin fan to really like this, or like specific certain quirks about the plot.
Mm-hmm.
If you like, for instance, Carmine and Shirley fighting, this is an episode for you.
Yeah.
If you like anything involving the boys, just being the boys, this is an episode for you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else in it is just horrible. We have Carmine, the cheap-ass boyfriend, being the jerk-ass for the first time since, but seriously, folks.
Yes. Oh, and he acts as if, me and Shirley aren't together no more, so hey, Rhonda, how about I take you out instead?
God. We have Rhonda's unfortunate racism.
Mm-hmm.
We have Laverne acting as foolish over a man as she has acted all season, and that includes the Willie Marsh BS.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have sucked her brain out through her nose like she's a mummy.
Well, definitely like a mummy. I was, for some reason, whenever I think of the brain out the nose, I keep thinking of the Total Recall scene where he has to pull the tracking device out of his skull.
And that's the way to do it. Bite me, Martians. She's so brainless in this episode, and it's so bad.
And so is, to an extent, so is Shirley. And so is, really, there's my note. Where's my note here?
Shirley's unlikably paranoid in this episode.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're arguing, yell at each other, and okay, that escalated quickly. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
note.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this already feels weird and bad. The boys are great, though. Would have been fine in its own episode. Now they
Yes.
get to enter the cringe
Yes.
comedy, the awkward silence. Oh, my note is here is, all right,
Yeah.
your fault, which is one of the best lines. All right, your fault. And my response to that is, no, it's the episode's fault.
I was going to say that everybody here is so unlikable, and they have to try to convince us that all these people need Charles Grodin's self-help routines to get through a simple fight, and they've resolved these things so many times between each other without the help of the celebrity. It's just like, we don't need you, Charles Grodin.
Yep.
Go back to taking care of Martin Short.
Oh, no, he doesn't need to do that. Steve Martin's doing that now.
I was gonna say, as a Clifford reference, shout out to Pax. I think Pax likes this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Clifford's fun. Clifford's fun, but I mean, there's Clifford. I was a Beethoven guy personally.
Oh yeah. That's one of the things I know Grodin from. Heartbreak Kid, definitely. Heaven Can Wait, definitely. He had a definitely great Muppet Caper.
Yep.
Great Muppet Caper forever.
Well, and also we can't. Okay, and because it's become a cult classic now, thank God. Midnight Run, cannot forget that.
Yes, Midnight Run. Midnight Run's got a lot of recent reevaluation
Yes.
in the press.
Yes.
That's because it was super interesting.
Yep, and the Shout Factory Blu-ray is fantastic. Anyway, but yes, but
I don't have that. I need to get that soon.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh okay.
He was a mega talented dude.
Yeah.
Incredibly mega talented dude. He doesn't need to be here in this plot.
No.
And you kind of feel bad for everybody and everything. David Lander said in an interview, which we will probably attach to the information of this episode on YouTube and other places.
Okay.
David Lander said he and Michael looked at each other and they went, "How the heck do Lenny and Squiggy know this guy? What was he in at this particular time period?"
They would have seen Sex and the College Girl because it has sex in the title, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Yeah, but what they came to was the realization that if they had seen him at all at this point, that it was probably going to be in something, I think, like either My Mother the Car or the Virginian or something like that. But I think they said something like that. That's one of the things David said. They wouldn't let them say it on the episode.
Oh, interesting.
They're like, how the heck would Lenny and Squiggy know this dude? Why would they care about him?
Mm-hmm.
It's the question they had. So that's just proof that those brains were always working. They were always looking at this through the boys' eyes, trying to figure out,
Well, yeah. They had to, because Wally Dalton certainly fucking wasn't.
Yeah, like, what the heck is Wally Dalton thinking for 90% of this episode? I want to pick this person's brain.
Okay.
I want to know more about him.
Okay, so here's the more about him. Now, I don't have I haven't done the deep dive for like interviews with him, but he was another alum of Love American Style segments, and was mostly in the 70s was a writer of TV and sometimes actor in television. So in this season, he's actually credited as a script consultant on Moving In, I Do, I Don't, and That's Entertainment. But this is the only episode that he gets credited as the writer. Now, at this time, he had done 7 episodes of Barney Miller, a Benson, 3 episodes of It's a Living, once directed by Joel Zwick, no less, and would end up moving into focusing onto his acting shortly after this gig. He was typically like a bit player, but he kept himself really busy with like Free Willy 2, Assassin. Like he's in Assassins, the Richard Donner Witkowski's written movie. Episodes, a couple of episodes of X-Files, Poltergeist: The Legacy. He was even in Buster's Malhart, that Rami Malek film from a few years ago.
Intriguing.
And so that's what I kind of wonder is like, that's what intrigues me is like, this is a guy that like gets into the business. He's able to successfully get scripts produced, and he kind of basically stops like in the 80s and then goes on to continue his acting. And I wonder if this is, just a case of he really wanted to act, or was a case of like, maybe just, got lost I'll try the writing thing for a while. Anyway, there's a lot of pontificating and a lot of, a stretch.
Deep thoughts.
Yeah. Conjecture.
Yes, conjecture. Conjecture is the perfect way to put it.
But ultimately, like, I'm really curious about the writing process for this episode, because as you're saying, like, David and Michael were clearly thinking about these questions, and I would assume that some of the other actors would have been thinking of these same questions as well. And clearly, as we've said, Charles's fictionalization of himself in this episode is really, really well done. It is very, very well realized, and yet it does not the rest of the script, nothing comes to, like, the concept's even fine, but God, everything in that execution just trips over itself.
Yeah. It is such a mess from start to finish. It makes our cast of characters that we know we love completely unlikable. It hasn't acted out of character for the most part, except the boys. The boys are pretty in character. That's like the only part that works.
Mm-hmm.
Is Michael and David, probably because Michael and David kept their performances sacrosanct. Is like, no, we're gonna do this and not give in to the kind of feeling of this episode, and that's what happened. Possibly, who knows?
Yeah.
But they're the only ones that actually end up working out, or working well in this episode. Because, geez, it's a mess. It's
and as we're saying, like, we're bummed that this doesn't work because it has these little high moments.
Yeah.
It's got the whole, like, it's like I don't lather my hair. It's like, yeah, I'm his roommate. I lather his hair. You get in the shower with him? No, I stand. So what are you talking about? I stand next to the shower and I lather his hair for him. It's like
they wish they were dripping.
It's like, look at my hair. It looks like an ice cream cake. Oh man, it's
so good.
There's those lines, those killer lines that just work really well, and and like, as crappy as the whole Shirley Carmine arguing thing is, the result of him like saying, "I'm gonna take you someplace nice. I'm gonna take you to the new day old pizza place," which is weird. So here's the thing: there are some people that would say, "Oh God, day old pizza," but it's like, but it's reheated pizza. Reheated pizza tastes so freaking good. That's a great idea for a restaurant.
Yeah, that's not bad. That isn't the worst idea.
Yeah.
That isn't the worst idea. Yeah, go ahead.
But
there are some highlights here. There are.
And even Mr. Pennington, who this is his only episode, which is weird because I would assume that, because not to mention we're getting more Bardwells episodes coming up both this season and next. I would love to have seen him again. And don't get me wrong. I mean, my note is, wow, Mr. Pennington is an abusive cock.
Man.
But Robin Bach, who plays him, was the kind. What I like is, it shows how Mr. Hildebrand was a pretty cool guy. Like, he had his edge and his sharpness, but there was a reason for it. Pennington is a great foil that actually is seen almost like that he doesn't like the girls, but Mr. Hildebrand, so it's like, it's a great creation of this interesting character that could be used in that ecosystem where he doesn't like the girls, but Hildebrand's always got their back, sort of thing. Would have been really nice to have seen. And even that's like wasted. This is a case of an interesting character. I mean, this is a guy, look, I just find it unfortunate that we have a guy who is in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, Tim Conway show, couple of Happy Days, Jerry Lewis is cracking up, and a Max Headroom episode, and this is all he gets to do for Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Because he's funny. It's an interesting moment where he's like, basically daring Grodin to go and interfere here, so to speak, with the girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Grodin tries to be a nice guy. He tries to be the opposite. He tries to be good with them. It's just like the sheer and utter and complete, character destruction going on for everybody. Once again, everybody but the boys. Like, I keep saying that because they're actually good in this, but Lord. Carmine financially struggling. I made this one note. You left the studio for this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God. At least Carmine looks good in this episode.
Yeah, he's handsome as hell, and his hair looks really good.
Yeah. Eddie Mecca was stunting and profiling over there in that particular episode.
He peacocked very well in this case. Yes,
in this one. I love that one little dumb side gag I did enjoy was Shirley just dumping the bowling ball in the oven because as they're trying to clean up the apartment in a desperate attempt to make it clean for Charles Grodin. That didn't make me laugh. That got me to crack a little bit of a smile.
Which is kind of nice also that I forgot about that, but I'm glad you mentioned it because that also means there is bowling ball continuity for this episode and one that's coming up.
Yes, because I was actually thinking of that. I actually did make a note for that in that episode that is upcoming that we have not reviewed yet. And you will hear it after that. Later on,
and
viewers.
When we're talking about like all these things of like this works, that doesn't, this works, that doesn't, like the whole punchline at the end, not to like jump ahead, but Squiggy memorizing the speech verbatim.
Yeah.
I love because it's like it's one of those like kind of on the spectrum kind of touches about his characterization, but it's done in a super heartfelt, respective, and positive way towards, and that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. Squiggy actually is not only a good guy, but he has his own intelligence.
Squiggy is definitely smart. He and Lenny are smart at totally different things, and it depends on what the subject is. Squiggy knows Hollywood already like the back of his hand. He was
that's for sure.
He was meant to be a wheeler dealer agent. He's so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
He is absolutely just 100% good at it. And Lenny shows a lot of surprising abilities and traits and emotional intelligence, both throughout the show and during season 7. So
yep. Oh yeah.
Squiggy is a bright guy. Squiggy is a bright guy in his own way. He was a class valedictorian. Do not forget this.
It's almost like also what I love is like the whole story of the whole washing the hair thing. There is a logic to the way they work. And so like once they explain it, it's like, oh yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. They're trying to save hot water money, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're trying to do is just like save the money. I'll stand out here, then I'll go in there, and then you help me, and we'll get the shower done quicker. Is I think what they're trying to shoot for here, but it's the boys. It's the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
For all we know, there could be hand jobbery going on. Nobody knows. Hey, I'm here for that. Anyway. Okay.
Sometimes, you and your best friend just gotta make sure that things get done right.
Yeah. Clean out the plumbing. I see that Squiggy definitely seems to be kind of like carrying a friendship with Charles Grodin here. He seems very interested in him, which I thought was nice. And interested in the different tips and little tricks and tools of the trade that he had going on. That was very nice. Squiggy, that's a very nice name. Foreign name. Where are you from? Milwaukee.
Oh god, that exchange is great.
Good. Yeah.
And I really want to use this somewhere in one of my other projects where it's just the whole thing Charles Grodin.
Yeah. I love that that's the choice that David made after realizing, okay, where the heck would they know this guy from? They would know him from anything. Okay, so I'm going to decide that my character is going to be worshipful of this dude. And then, thus he is. As good neighbors go, you simply don't. So Lenny's so done with everything here, which is very on him because normally he's much more sunny.
I was curious what your thought was on his trying to compliment Laverne and saying you're easy going.
Oh, that compliments what happens eventually in Love is the Tar Pits.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get there.
Oh god, that's a good. Yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I think either at this point in canon, Lenny has either one or two things going on in his head. Either he's very jealous that Laverne is like giving it up to the Dick Swamps of the world, or he's like, well, my friend's having a good time having sex, I might as well help her have more sex and compliment her on her fucking. At this point, it's one of the two.
Yeah. It's like, hey, if you want a good time.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's
pussy like a vice. Anyway.
But so it. That took me a second for that one to land. Ultimately, though, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much even more I can even say about this episode. Like, I'm pretty much done with my notes. By the way, I mean that's pretty much all that I took down.
I have some more.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Because I mean, I just don't know what the hell to even say else about this episode. It's such a nothing to me.
Let all the ugly skeletons out of the closet. Hello. It's a pretty good hello. Pretty good hello.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
I love that it's Shirley who's jealous of Rhonda here. And Rhonda's kind of even, to a degree, oblivious to the jealousy until, later.
Yeah.
But because she's so caught up in her own head here. Mugu Guy Cheap was a funny little one-off line.
I couldn't get between you and Day Old Pizza. That's another
That was a good one, too. I had that one down. It's Rhonda wouldn't get between you and Day Old Pizza, the same thing. What Laverne says to Lenny here, when she compliments him, is literally what she said when he proposed to her back in season 2. You're a sweet guy and a great friend.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting callback. And that had to have been intentional in some degree, because that's exact words. Exact words. An absolute sterling one-liner when he turns to Squiggy, when called upon to compliment his friend, and says, out of all my friends, you're the only one who resembles Neil Sedaka. It's a good one.
That's
a good one.
You know, that being said, you know, when you think of Neil Sedaka in the 60s, that ain't wrong.
Yeah, kinda. My other notes include this episode makes every single character look insane.
Yes.
The compliments. Everybody's really, really over the top. I swear to God, I keep expecting Shirley to pick up a butcher knife and go after Charles Grodin by the mid stretch of this episode.
Oh yeah,
I really
understandable.
do.
Yeah.
Your job isn't worth killing this dude over, Shirley. You'll get a better job. You already literally last season pounded the pavement so you got a job. You can do it again.
So does
Your best friend runs a restaurant. My best friend's father runs a restaurant.
yeah. So yeah, this sparks a weird thought in my brain, which you know I'm not as familiar with his work, so you know feel free to correct me on this. This feels like the student film version of trying to make a John Waters film and failing miserably.
Waters is what would be way more knowing and way more over the top.
Well, what I'm saying is a student trying to imitate John Waters
Yeah.
and not knowing what they're doing. Let me put it this way: we just watched The Big Picture last week.
Yes, we did.
What are those students trying to do it?
Yeah, I can picture somebody submitting their work to that film festival and producing an episode like this, thinking it's deep.
Yeah,
I will say that. I will absolutely
you guys
say
are
that.
idiots. This episode's very deep.
You don't understand. It's amazing. You don't know me. You don't know me. I will say Grodin losing it is mildly funny, and that Laverne's overconfidence here is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's always been a confident person most of the time. But here she's like, oh yeah, this guy's into me. Sorry, you guys all go screw off. I'm going to nail Charles Grodin to a degree. And it's like, Laverne, honey, he's just not into you.
Not to mention, just I don't know. That's just a weird thing that even at my horniest, I can't see it. Like, all right, everybody, fuck off. I need to go fuck. And it's like, no, I can't. I just can't. That's just not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
It's
not
rude.
wired that
It's
way.
too rude. It's too rude.
Yeah.
You just throw a ball and people will leave, and then you can fuck. Anyway.
Yeah. It's
Oh.
go get the ball. Go get the ball. While I go
Get
get
the ball.
balled.
Oh,
Oh god, we're gonna have to cut so much of this out.
yeah.
Fuck
This
me.
is gonna be a 5-minute long episode. Anyway, I love that Squiggy only washes his hair twice a year like clockwork, allegedly. But there was a little bit of sarcasm on Lane's face, like he's making it up.
Yeah,
Almost.
I caught that
Yeah.
too. I like that. Sort of like it's like, no, what? Come on.
Yeah. My last note on this entire episode is, and in the end, Charles Grodin is a wholly blameless creature.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty
what
much.
the episode says. My God. It's just one of the weirdest experiences when it comes to watching a Laverne and Shirley episode. It is like a fever dream. Imagine this show that started out really, really simply, chronicling the lives of these two working class girls as they try to figure out, should I be getting married? Should I just marry out of desperation? Is working this hard worth it? And is doing this for a promotion worth it? And how close should I let these friends of mine into my life?
Mm-hmm.
And 7 years, about 8 years later, to be real, I think that was about 6 or 7 years, we have Charles Grodin fanfiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how, why, no.
I mean, basically, I do think part of the reason we have connected to the show so well as it is really drawn more people in from our generation and actually younger. Like we have, our little baby fans. We love you, baby fans. We call you baby fans, but we know you are actually very mature, very wonderful people.
Yeah.
The thing I find funny about that, but also fitting, is this show evolved a bit like the internet. It started as one thing, and it just kept changing as these different eras and different parts of it. And then when you get towards season 7, season 6 in some places, you're just like, huh, okay. Because think of MIT nerds trading, messages over the original internet in the 70s and the 80s, and the old Cray supercomputers and, setting up networks at universities and early to mid 80s and all that. So, my parents did that when they were in college. And then 15-ish years later, we get All Your Base Are Belong to Us.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
The way it goes. But,
So So what I'm saying is the terminally online do, I think, have an attraction to Laverne and Shirley, possibly for that reason. Possibly.
Maybe. This has just always been in my life. Like, as I've said, since I was 3. I can remember putting my hand on the TV screen, talking to Lenny. A little tiny baby.
You tiny little baby Wisa. Aw.
Tiny baby Lisa. But yeah.
I was not even born. My parents, I don't think, had even met yet at that point.
Nope. It's only 6 years. It ain't that bad.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying that it's like, I was trying to think of an equivalent of like, could I have joined you in doing so at the time? It's like, oh, no, I couldn't have.
You could have if you'd ever seen a rerun. Eventually.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I think we're at ranking time.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
2.5?
I'm going slightly higher with a 3, and all 3 of those points go to David Lander and Michael McKean. All those points go to them.
Yeah, nah. You know what? My initial thought was a 3. The conversation got me down to a 2.5. But you're right, 3.
Yeah.
The laughs, the smiles that I do get out of the episode are too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, 3.
Yeah. It's not that everybody else isn't trying. Everybody else is trying in this episode.
Oh yeah, they just don't have anything to work with.
Yeah. All the points go to David and Michael for being incredible.
Yep.
And managing to keep their characters grounded in who the heck their characters are in the first place. They're the ones who managed to do it.
And as much as we give Wally Dalton a lot of crap for being credited as the writer here, as we know, WGA attributions can be weird. And it's a very messy business regarding that, especially with episodes like this. We've already heard, as I think we reported on an earlier podcast, that many episodes of season 4 were rewritten by writers that were never credited.
Yeah.
And so that can just happen. So it might just be this was a script that was kind of not coming together, or Charles wanted changes, or the actors wanted changes, and they had like 2 days to just hammer something out.
Yeah. Well, David, this is how on the fly the show could be even at its highest point. David and Michael, when they were on the writing staff, would literally be writing new scenes for episodes while the girls were at lunch.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And David Lander reported this in an interview. And the girls would complain because the noise of the typewriter was annoying. He'd say, and he'd go back, shut up, if we don't write this, you're not going to have any scenes to perform after lunch.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what happened. That happened. I don't know when that stopped happening. I guess the boys ended up off the writing staff after season 2, or probably in the middle of season 2. But they would be doing stuff like that, and I presume that the writing staff were literally doing that because of all the on-set fighting that was happening and the disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how chaotic the writing staff could be, and how chaotic, everybody knows about Laverne and Shirley, how chaotic it could be. So this might be a product of Dalton's imagination. This might be a product of the writer's room recycling the idea and chewing it back out and saying, no, we're doing this. Scratch, right. Or, it could be somebody else got an entirely different concept, an entirely different spec script, and rewrote it line by line.
Yep.
You don't know what belongs to David and Michael because they would sometimes come in and just, ad lib if they didn't like the script. And how much Penny and Cindy took out because they would often do physical business if they didn't like the dialogue, by Cindy's own confession. So, yeah. It's a mess no matter what anybody did. It's a sad thing.
It is, yeah. No, it was weird. Yeah. I remember you warning me it was going to be weird, and oh boy, you were not kidding.
Yeah, I warned you. I pre-warned you. There are weird episodes. My 2s and 1s are reserved for several episodes in season 8. And as obviously Bully Show, got like a 0. But, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But my utter ire is reserved for those episodes. This is a bad one. Watch only the boys' scenes. That's my only advice. Just watch the boys' scenes. And watch, if you have to, watch like the scene at the very end. Grodin does not do a bad job. If you're a Charles Grodin fan, you'll like this better. It'll go higher for you if you just like Charles Grodin, period.
Yeah, I like Charles Grodin, but not enough to save this one. That's the catch.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing for me too. So those are the only 2 real reasons to watch it. All the kudos to David and Michael for keeping this alive. Penny tried hard, Cindy tries hard. The material defeats them. And that's that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a cast have to fight the material as hard as I saw in this episode, to be honest.
Cindy herself said that she had to fight so hard sometimes with the material. She had to fight so hard with the show. In a recent interview when she was talking about how the heck, that happened that caused her to sue ABC, which we'll get to next season. Yeah. It ended up turning out okay for everybody.
Yeah.
Except for her marriage in the end, but that had nothing to do with that. That's two totally different, separate situations. Anyway,
moving on.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay, I think that covers everything for this episode. Yeah, I think we're.
Yeah.
Okay, we get to escape. We get to escape this persuasion. It's like it's the hard sell, right? And it's got to get the hell out of. It's like this is a used car salesman of an episode, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very unctuous.
Yep, very unctuous.
Trying like heck to get us to care. And we don't care.
We don't care. No, we
just don't.
But what we do care about is all of you wonderful people that allowed us to complain a bunch right into your ears about something that you may or may not have watched.
Yeah. Hopefully you will watch better episodes.
Yes. But with that, I guess we'll quickly do our sponsor break here for the podcast version of this episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you shouldn't be getting a sponsor break at this point. Yeah. And when we come back real quick, we shall have a preamble or I guess post-ambulatory discussion regarding the next episode and also where you can find us on social media. So stick around and we'll see you in a second. All right, everybody, put your weight on it, and thank you so much for watching Night After Night. If you would like to know more, you can find us at Night After Night PC or Night After Night Pod on Facebook, Tumblr, WordPress, Patreon, YouTube, or wherever great podcasts can be found. So, I'm feeling indecisive. Like, what are we doing next week, Lisa? I mean, it's like I feel like I do, I feel like I don't, I feel like I do, I feel like I don't. What's happening?
Polish up your spats and put on a bow tie. When Shirley's presented with the opportunity to have the free wedding of her quasi-dreams, she decides to rope Carmine to finally marrying her. But will Shirley's marital dreams turn into a nightmare? This is I Do, I Don't.
Oh, maybe we got a trigger pulled on this episode, eh?
You never know. I wish. I wish. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, see?
Bye, y'all. And remember, if Charles Grodin comes to your door, don't let him in. He's a ghost by now. Don't let him in.
Rest in peace, Charlie.
We love you, man.